Guys! I've just gone on one of the most fun days ever. Well, maybe not ever, because I'm sure I did lots of fun stuff as a kid, but this was so fun! It ended off with crepes, but let's rewind and I will start right at the beginning. So I met this guy named Lachlan online, which is both a fantastic place to meet people and a not so great place to meet people. Thankfully, I got lucky and he turned out to be a really nice guy and we had such a fun time in the city. Anyway, we were texting a little bit and he was like, oh, there's this exhibit going on in Melbourne. And I was like, I like exhibitions, what's showing? And it was a place called Imaginaria. Now, Imaginaria is a sort of immersive, interactive sound and visual experience that you can go see. It's based in Docklands in Melbourne. And so I was like, great, that sounds good. I got there a bit earlier, so I just decided to explore the area and it was so cool. I know I've seen all this stuff before, but just coming back as an adult, I get excited all over again. So I saw the Melbourne Star, which is this giant Ferris wheel that you can go in, which we didn't, but that is on my bucket list and I'll do it eventually. And just sort of looked at everything. There was this plaza mall type space. I wandered around there and honestly it was just really cool. Imaginaria is set up in this big tent type space. So we had to take off our shoes when we went there and then you go in and already I was like, wow, this is cool. I think it was about $35 to get in if you had a student card and probably 40 or 50 if you didn't have concession, but it was unlimited time you could just go wander around and explore. And basically it was a series of different rooms. You could spend as long as you wanted in the whole space or as little time as you wanted. It was just sort of free. The whole space was quite dark, but because it was a very visual and sensory experience, they had lots of colorful lights everywhere. So even walking in, I was just like, oh, this is cool. It opened up into a main space where there was this big flat white cushy thing in the middle that was sort of slowly rotating. And then all around the edges of the big main room, there were sort of different things to do and activities and things to check out. There was an AI, which we both kind of figured it was probably just an employee who would answer the questions, but you could ask it questions and it would then, you know, answer them. Maybe it's real. People put lots of effort into these things. I don't know. I was a little skeptical. It's like, it's just someone with a robot voice. But anyway, it was there.
You have to be Abraham Lincoln.
Why?
For everything you did for the States.
There was this one section off to the side where we could go up a little set of stairs and then jump down onto this giant cushy trampoline pillow type thing, which was like kind of scary but also kind of not, because you just went and did it and I didn't film because I didn't want to end up chucking my camera halfway across the room. But you know, it was Imaginaria, it was just filled with random stuff like that. There were rooms where you could just lay on a bunch of beanbags and just relax and watch these very mesmerizing patterns as they sort of were projected onto the walls and ceiling. That was really nice because then you could just sit there and talk and just sort of like almost doze off, but not really. So there's quite energetic things to do and then there's also quite mellow things to do. My favorite part of this whole place was this room that was predominantly made up of mirrors, and projected on all the mirrors were these lights that slowly changed patterns and stuff. And I've seen this sort of thing online and in Instagram pictures and I was like, what? I'm seeing this for real? And it was, I was freaking out. I think I stayed pretty calm in the moment, but I was freaking out. It was so cool. It felt like I was standing on water in one of those caves that have those glowworms. So there was just lights all around me and I was just like, ah! Anyway, it was very cool. There was this inflatable round structure, I'm gonna say, and basically you could sit in there, you could roll through. There were lots of kids running around, but it wasn't very loud for some reason. They all sort of were just happy to be there and just play with whatever, and they sort of did their own thing. It was great. So there was lots of kids in there, and then we both sort of rolled through and got out the other side, and it was like, that was ridiculous, but it was kind of fun. There was also this round sort of mesh surface that you could push on, and apparently there's some sort of AI controlled thing, and it would sense where you were pushing and then the lights would sort of flow to it and it would act almost like water or oil would if it was horizontal, I guess. I'm not quite sure. It's tricky to describe, but you can sort of see it in the video. It does its thing. So we finished up in there, and then we were still in this sort of, you know, mall area in Docklands, and apparently there was an arcade which had really good lemon lime bitters, and they were really cheap too, which works for my budget. So Lachlan was like, oh, we should go check them out. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm literally down to do anything. The arcade was also connected to a virtual reality, which we didn't do, but we did watch, and it was actually so cool. These people got to go into the main room, you know, had all their goggles on and their gear and their guns and stuff like that. And then we could see what they were seeing on the TV screens outside. So I think they were fighting zombies or something like that. It was a little bit funny to watch them run around screaming and then, you know, obviously see what they were seeing, but the room is empty and it looks quite plain. But it was kind of really cool. I think I'd definitely like to do that sometime. So we went to this arcade, it was pretty cool, got our drinks, and we wandered around some more, and we were gonna get food, and then the place we were gonna go was closed, so we sort of didn't really know what to do, and we were like, oh my gosh, we should go to the Skydeck. Now, if you don't know, the Melbourne Skydeck is the Southern Hemisphere's highest observation deck. It is a glass, more or less glass room that is almost 300 meters above the ground, and you get panoramic views of Melbourne. Their website throws a little pun in there and says it takes you to a whole new level, which it is, considering a lift will take you up 88 stories. That lift was also very fast and made my ears pop. Zoom! The views from this Skydeck were phenomenal. Oh my goodness, it was fascinating. And they had a whole little restaurant up there, which was overpriced. I would not have bought anything up there. I think they had alcohol, they had like some toasties and like other sweet treats, but I guess it was cool. People will buy the food. There were quite a few people up there. It was a Saturday, so that makes sense, but it wasn't chalkers, so that was pretty good. We found Australia's highest post box. I don't know if you can actually post stuff from there, but you know, it's cool. There was even a whole outdoor section, which was fully caged in, so you know, the views were less cool, but it was quite different to be up almost 300 meters in the air and be feeling it all around you, and you're like, holy. But it felt very safe and it was fine. On the glass, they also have little directions to places like Tasmania, or, you know, the Great Ocean Road, or the mountains and stuff like that. And they also had north, south, east, and west on all the corresponding sides. And I thought that was kind of nifty, because otherwise you're like, what am I looking at? Where am I? I don't think my camera focused enough on these, but they had these funny little metal rods, and then on the end of the metal rods was a different metal rod. And basically, there was a sign corresponding to each of these rods scattered all throughout the room, and you could look through this little hole and it would point you directly at a certain building or, you know, monument that was quite famous in Melbourne. So I think they had the MCG and maybe Flinders Street Station and, you know, cool stuff like that, that you're like, oh, I can actually focus in and see that, and you can sort of see what else is around it. I thought that was really nifty. So then after that, we went down to sort of more Flinders Street area, and I think it's called Crown. Is that the area that's sort of by the river with all the restaurants? I think so. That's where we went. Anyway, we wandered around. There was a lady with a macaw, which was so cool. And I was like, this is Melbourne? What? So crazy stuff like that happens all the time, apparently. So we explored and wandered around, and then we really wanted to go to the floating restaurant that I posted about the other day. We looked all around the whole restaurant and couldn't find any seating. The 2 tables we could have sat at, just as we were going up to them, one of the waiters came up and was like, oh, sorry, someone just reserved these. And we were like, oh, come on. But, you know, we found something else. And then, because we hadn't had enough, you know, high experiences for the day, we decided to go to a rooftop bar, which was also really cool. It was called the Stolen Gem, and it was a sketchy looking entrance. Like, it was, I think, squished between a dentist and something else. Like, it didn't look like a bar. I was like, what on earth? But you could see people coming and going, so it was fine. But you go in this little hallway, and then you go on the lift, and you go all the way up, and then it was really nice. The vibes were good. They had a DJ. We both got mocktails because I don't really like alcohol and Lachlan doesn't drink, so I was like, great. And they tasted really cool. The Stolen Gem has a really cool way of making mocktails where you scan their menu with a QR code, which is weirdly how lots of Australia works. So many restaurants, you just pay via your phone, and like, it kind of works, but it's weird. And then with the mocktails, you can pick a couple different flavor combinations. So, you know, sweet and fruity, or sour and fruity, or sweet and sour, or, you know, a mix and match of a whole bunch. And then the bartenders get to make whatever type of drink they want, but based off of those sort of adjectives. So anyway, that was nifty. We got to try a few different flavors and it was really nice. Unfortunately, they weren't serving food and we were still both pretty hungry at this point, so we had to go looking for something. I think I stopped filming at this point, which was a little weird, but you know, eventually I guess I just got sick of it and wanted to put my camera away. But finally we did find some food. It was a couple streets away from Flinders Street and we hung out there. And then we forgot to pay. We had this amazing food and then we were both sort of like ready to go on to the next thing. So we got up and left and we got to where we were getting street crepes and then we were like, oh no, we like dined and dashed. So I went back, paid, we all sorted it out. We felt really bad, but it was like, you know, you live and you learn, no one got hurt, whatever, it was fine. And then we got crepes and they were delicious and they splattered all over, but you know, it was great. These two French dudes were making them and it was popular. It was almost a 15 or 20 minute wait, but they tasted amazing and you could also customize them exactly how you wanted. So I got strawberries and Nutella because chocolate and strawberries, well, why not? I think Lachlan got peanut butter, Nutella, and banana maybe? Anyway, it was really good. Okay, so that was a lot of chaotic stuff that happened all in one day. It was a lot of chaotic stuff, me telling you about it, so I hope most of this got through because it was really fun and I just had a blast. And I sort of wanted to put this up because people are skeptical about meeting other people online, particularly when it's guy-girl stuff. And I just wanted to say, yes, totally makes sense. You do have to be quite careful, you never know who's going to be on the internet, but also you make really cool friends, and who knows if I'll ever see Lachlan again. We sort of parted ways at the train station and then whatever else, and said bye, but I still had a great time, he still had a great time, we still had a personal connection, and that's what lots of this world is missing these days when everything is online so much. People miss out on connecting in real world situations, and humans are built to connect, we're built to be in a community, and one of the hardest things I've noticed while I've been traveling is meeting people and connecting and getting those genuine moments. So I was so grateful for this and it was just such a fun time. I never felt bad, I never got a bad gut feeling, the vibes were always so good. So if you get the opportunity and if your gut tells you yes and you're having a good time, I would just say go for it. Whatever it is, whether it's meeting someone or trying something new or anything in between, just go for it, and what's the worst that could happen? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you like this, let me know in the comments. I can find more random people to go on fun adventures with. And if you want to see more of this sort of travel content, then you can subscribe, because there's a big red button that wants you to subscribe and everybody likes pushing the big red button. So you should do that. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Have a great day.